It seems the only time people typically pay attention to Army and Navy in college football is on that very special weekend of the year when Army and Navy play their annual rivalry and there's nothing else to watch and we have it as a standalone game for all the right reasons. It's everything that's great about college football. But I'll tell you, man, it may be worth paying attention to Army, and we haven't gotten a Navy yet on this podcast, to the Black Knights this year. You're listening to the You Think You Know Sports podcast. We're going to talk about Army today as we continue to make our way around the country talking college football and doing a podcast on all of them. You can find a lot more on my website, youthinkyouKnowsports.com. All of this stuff is new as far as the podcast and website. What's not new is my TikTok, which has over 10,000 followers. We do deep dive analysis and research across college football, the NFL, and college basketball. So we're talking about Army today as we make our way through the American. We're also doing the Big Ten at the same time. We've already completed the ACC. 7-6 last year. You had the loss to Tarleton State early on. Army really turned this thing around after such an abysmal start to the year. They're 19-8 the last two seasons. Jeff Monken is entering his 13th year leading the Black Knights. He's 89-63 at Army. Last year they averaged 24 points per game, 329 yards per game. They ran the ball 86% of the time. Listen, we're talking about Army. You know what you're getting, right? Triple option football. That was obviously the most running attempts of anybody in the country at almost 86%. They allowed about 21 points per game defensively, 343 yards per game. And so Army offensively probably needs to score another touchdown in there. Get to 30, right? You get to 30 a game with the defense and that triple option run game, keeping the other team off the field. You got a chance to win a lot of games. I mean, look at the Kansas State game last year that Army won. Kansas State barely had the ball in the second half. They had like 4 minutes the whole second half. It's just wild as Army pulled the upset there over a Kansas State team that opened the season ranked. But what about Army in 2026? Well, Kel Helms is back at quarterback. He only threw 87 passes last year. Look, we know what this is for Army. He's going to run it a lot. He had almost 700 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, 3 picks. You'd love to see him throw it a few more times. But he had 304 carries, 1,223 yards, 18 touchdowns. Those 18 rushing touchdowns are the third most rushing touchdowns in the entire country. You know, again, we know what we're getting here, right? But Army brings back 8 players on offense. 72% of its offensive snaps. That is the most in the country. Nobody brings back more offensive snaps than Army. Okay? If you don't learn anything else today, I hope you'll write that down. That number is from CBS Sports, but you can see with 8 guys back on offense, including 4 offensive linemen. Army is going to be able to run the ball on you, or they should be able to. Defensively, they only return 34% of their snaps. Okay, that puts them 93rd. But when you add all the offensive guys, they end up with the 17th most returning snaps in the entire country. Jack Bosom, the third team All-American defensive lineman, is back on defense. Cody Harris Miller, Jaden Mays are the 3 guys back defensively for Army. We'll see if they can get, at least maintain, maybe even get better with some of the guys that are coming up for the Black Knights going into 2026. This schedule leaves a lot to be desired. And what I mean by that is Army plays a lot of back-to-back road games. In fact, their whole schedule is just a rotation. So they open with Bryant on September 5th. Then they play South Florida, who's going to look a lot different. Head coach is now at Auburn, quarterback now at Auburn. Then you have 13 days off before you play at Temple on a Friday. Then you play at Louisiana Tech October 3rd. So you'll see a trend here. 2 home games, 2 road games. Next 2 are home games. October 10th, October 17th, you have Tulane and Florida Atlantic. Then a Friday at Tulsa. and a Saturday at Memphis. So again, with the Friday game for your first road game out of the two back to back, and then an extra day's rest before you go on the road again. And stop me if you've heard this before, then two home games, Air Force and East Carolina. Then they play at Rice for their final true road game before playing Navy in New Jersey for the annual rivalry game there. So again, not a home game. So two home games, then two road games, then two home games, then two road games, two home games, and then essentially two road games, although the Navy game is not a true road game. So, what are we looking at here for Army? I think this is a team that can be extremely competitive. I think that they should expect to compete at the top of the American with what they have coming back on offense. They were great in turnover margin last year, as you would expect from Army and from all the service academies. I think there's a real chance Army is competing as one of the better teams in the American all season. We'll see if they can get off to a better start and ride the offense a little bit and Helms as they get the year going. I'd love to hear from you and what you think about the Black Knights as we look forward to the 2026 college football season. These, in some of the smaller conferences, we may do a little bit more of a micro podcast like this, but I don't want to leave anybody out. Hope to see you on our next podcast here on the You Think You Know Sports podcast. We'll be back with more on the Big Ten and the American as we continue to work our way through those conferences. Thanks for listening.